6:45 in the morning. Giorgia, a 42-year-old single mother, wakes up in her modest apartment in Quartieri Spagnoli, a traditional and vibrant neighborhood of the city, known for its narrow streets and authentic Neapolitan atmosphere. She lives there with her 12-year-old son, Luca. Giorgia has always worked hard, enduring long hours as a waitress at a simple restaurant on Via dei Tribunali, to ensure Luca never went without anything. But today is different. It's Luca's 12th birthday, and she's determined to make this day unforgettable, even if it means using all the savings she's worked so hard to put aside. I am Lucius Aeternus, an angel of death. My voice echoes, soft and inevitable. The mark of death is already upon your head, Giorgia. The sentence has been pronounced, and there is no escape. I am here to witness Giorgia's final hours and show you, my friend, what the last moments of someone whose fate has been sealed are like. Giorgia carefully gets out of bed, trying not to make a sound. Luca is still sound asleep. In the small kitchen, she prepares breakfast, her movements automatic, like a daily ritual. The kettle begins to whistle, filling the air with the comforting aroma of fresh coffee. The bread is sliced with precision, and the table is set for two. In the center sits a small cake she bought the night before from Pasticceria Scaturchio, a famous local pastry shop, decorated with colorful candles. When Luca appears, his hair tousled and his eyes still sleepy, Giorgia beams at him. "Happy birthday, my love," she says, her voice choked with emotion. Luca, surprised, smiles at the sight of the cake. "Today is your day. I have an amazing surprise for you later," she continues, trying to hide her anxiety behind a smile. After breakfast, Giorgia hurries to take Luca to school. They drive through the narrow streets of Naples, passing historic buildings and markets just beginning to stir with morning activity. "This is going to be the best day ever, Mama!" Luca exclaims, full of anticipation as he hops out of the car in front of the gates of Scuola Umberto I, his school. Giorgia nods, waving at him as she watches his small figure disappear among the other students. The car's dashboard clock reads 7:50. She sighs, a mix of love and worry filling her heart. "I know it will be, my son. I know." She continues driving toward the city center, the cobblestones of Via Chiaia passing under the car. The shops are still closed, and the city feels quiet, almost expectant. She parks the car in a narrow spot near Galleria Umberto Führer and sits there in silence, her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. The dashboard clock now reads 8:03. She has some time before the stores open. Giorgia leans back against the headrest and closes her eyes, trying to calm her restless mind. Then, a first premonition forms in her mind. Suddenly, she sees Luca, much older, standing in front of a Poggio Reale cemetery. His expression is one of deep sorrow, a silent grief that echoes in the stillness of the place. She tries to focus, to understand the scene before her. The cemetery in the background, wilted flowers in his hand. "Mama," he whispers in the vision, his voice fragile and broken. Giorgia's eyes fly open, her heart racing. She looks around the car, searching for something or someone, but she's alone. The image of Luca, alone and sad, remains etched in her mind, like a shadow she can't shake off. She takes a deep breath, trying to regain control. "It's just stress," she whispers to herself, but the uneasy feeling doesn't go away. She looks at the clock, 8:17. A few more minutes. She closes her eyes again, hoping to push away the rising fear. A second premonition invades her thoughts. This time, she finds herself in a bright, serene field, a place of peace where a golden light bathes everything around her. She moves through the field, drawn to the calm that fills the air. In the distance, she sees people dressed in white, some of them familiar, relatives and friends who have long passed away. A silver-haired woman walks towards her, a gentle smile on her face. "It's not your time yet," she whispers softly. "There's something important you need to do before crossing over." Giorgia turns back and sees Luca, her son, watching her from afar with a gaze full of love and sadness. The vision of the field begins to fade, and she feels herself being pulled back into the darkness. Giorgia wakes suddenly in the car, still breathless, confused by what she just experienced, but trying to focus again. She needs to concentrate on finding the perfect gift for her son. She felt it, I say, my voice blending into the silence. A sense of what was coming. Every minute brought her closer to the inevitable. Time is running out, and I'm here to narrate every moment of her farewell. Giorgia looks at the clock again. 8:25. The stores will be opening any minute now. She needs to focus. She needs to find the perfect gift for Luca. But the feeling that something strange is about to happen doesn't leave her. She swallows hard, wipes the sweat from her hands on her coat, and steps out of the car, determined to push these unsettling thoughts away. Countdown. 10 hours and 40 minutes to Giorgia's death. 8:35 in the morning. Giorgia is in the heart of Naples, walking down Via Toledo, one of the city's busiest streets. Today, though, everything feels different. The streets, usually full of life early in the morning, are unusually quiet. She walks slowly, observing the shop fronts still closed. There's something off in the air, like the world around her is slightly out of tune. She pulls her coat tighter around her body, trying to shield herself from the cold wind biting her face. The clock on the Chiesa del Gesù Nuovo reads 8:35. Deciding to explore a bit while waiting for the shops to open, Giorgia turns onto Via San Biagio dei Librai, a narrow street famous for its bookstores and antique shops. Naples, a city she knows so well, suddenly feels foreign, filled with shadows and dark corners. The cobblestone streets, always familiar to her, now seem to house an invisible presence, making her feel watched. She senses the change, I murmur softly. A whisper from beyond, a warning of what is to come. Turning another corner, she finds a small antique shop on Via dei Tribunali. The window is dusty, and the objects inside are arranged haphazardly. An inexplicable feeling makes her stop at the door. For a moment, she hesitates. Strangely, the shop is already open, and pushes the door, which creaks as it opens. The bell above her rings, so loud in the silence that it makes her shudder. Inside, the air is even colder, denser. The smell of old wood and worn leather mixes with something undefinable, almost imperceptible. Giorgia moves slowly, her eyes scanning the shelves crammed with forgotten relics. The sound of an old wall clock echoes in the background, each tick-tock seeming to mark not just time, but something deeper, something inevitable. Enzo, the shop's owner, emerges from the shadows as if he were a part of them. He is tall and thin, his piercing eyes seeming to see right through her. "Good morning, ma'am." His voice is low, heavy with a tired wisdom. "Can I help you find something special?" Giorgia feels uncomfortable under his gaze. "I'm looking for something unique for my son's birthday," she replies, trying to keep her voice steady. But there's something about the way Enzo looks at her that makes her uneasy. She walks around the shop, her fingers lightly brushing against old objects. A worn globe, bronze statues, hardcover books with faded titles. Then, something catches her eye. A framed photograph, partially hidden behind others. She steps closer and pulls the frame out. The image is old, faded, but the features are strangely familiar. A young woman with a deep, dark gaze. The woman's face is almost identical to hers. "Who is this woman?" Giorgia asks, her voice softer as if she fears the answer. "Ah, yes, Isabella," Enzo responds, slowly approaching. "She lived here many years ago, died tragically young. They say her spirit still roams these streets, searching for something she never found." A chill runs down Giorgia's spine. Isabella. The name reverberates in her mind like a distant bell. The feeling of déjà vu is so strong that she nearly stumbles backward. She needs to leave. "Thank you," she says hastily, placing the photograph back on the shelf and heading for the door. But before she can leave, Enzo gently places a hand on her shoulder. "Sometimes, the past reflects the future, ma'am," he says in a soft voice, his eyes gleaming with a silent mystery. "Take care." Back on the street, now on Via Benedetto Croce, Giorgia feels the air growing heavier, each breath becoming an effort. She leans against a wall, trying to steady her racing breath. The sounds around her seem muffled, as if coming from underwater. The ground beneath her feet feels like it's lightly trembling, and she experiences a dizziness, as if the world is spinning around her. She is crossing the threshold, I continue, my voice soft and steady. Each step brings her closer to the end. But she still fights against the inevitable, seeking hope where there is none. She needs to pull herself together. She needs to find the perfect gift for Luca. This is her mission, and she cannot fail. Giorgia checks her watch. 8:45. She takes a deep breath and begins to walk again, each step heavier than the last, but with renewed determination. The feeling that something is about to happen doesn't leave her, but she pushes it to the back of her mind. There is a gift to be found and a son waiting for her at home. Countdown. 9 hours and 55 minutes until Giorgia's death. 8:45 a.m. Giorgia hurries through the streets of downtown Naples, walking along Via Toledo. The urgency grows within her, intensified by the unsettling premonition and the strange encounter at the antique shop on Via San Gregorio Armeno. The determination to find the perfect gift for Luca burns in her chest like a flame. The shops are already open, and she quickly heads towards a tech store in Galleria Umberto Fern, which she spotted from a distance. In the display windows, a series of modern toys and gadgets shine under the lights. Her eyes are immediately drawn to a virtual reality kit, a gift she knows Luca would love. He has always been fascinated by technology and immersive adventures. Without hesitation, Giorgia steps into the store. The bell above the door rings softly, and the room is filled with the glow of screens and the smell of now electronics. A young salesman approaches her with a smile. "Good morning, ma'am. Can I help you?" he asks, noticing her anxious expression. "I'm looking for a special gift for my son's birthday. I think he would love one of these virtual reality kits," she replies, pointing to the most advanced model on the shelf. The salesman smiles again and takes the kit off the shelf. "Great choice. This is one of our most popular models. It comes with a variety of games and educational experiences. And we have a special service. We can record a personal message that will be the first thing your son sees when he uses the device." Giorgia feels a wave of emotion upon hearing this. She imagines Luca's smile when he opens the gift and the surprise when he hears her voice. "Yes, I would like to record a message," she responds, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. The salesman guides her to a small booth at the back of the store. Giorgia steps inside, positioning herself in front of a small camera. She takes a deep breath to calm her nerves, and then, slowly, the words begin to flow, filled with love and hope. Finishing the recording, she feels the emotion embedded in every word. She leaves the booth and heads to the counter to complete the purchase. The salesman smiles gently as he calculates the total. "That will be," he says, and when the amount appears, Giorgia feels a tightness in her chest. The price is much higher than she expected. She reaches for her credit card, aware that she's nearly maxing out her limit, but her love for Luca outweighs any financial concern. With trembling hands, she swipes the card. She knows it's a big sacrifice, but she believes it's worth it. Luca deserves the best. "Are you sure?" the salesman asks, noticing her hesitation. "Yes," she says firmly. "It's for my son. He deserves it." With the gift carefully wrapped and the message loaded onto the kit, Giorgia leaves the store. The emotional weight of the purchase lingers, but there's also a sense of satisfaction for having made the right choice for Luca. As she exits the store and crosses Piazza del Plebiscito, lost in her thoughts, she bumps into a tall man in a sharp black suit. His presence is striking, with an impeccable posture, and his eyes are intensely bright, piercing deeply into hers. This man is me, Lucius Eternus, an angel of death in human form, here to deliver a brief message to Giorgia. Surprised, she takes a step back, her heart pounding. "Sorry," I murmur as I watch her. My gaze is steady and deep. The world around her seems to pause for a moment. Something in my eyes paralyzes her, something that speaks directly to her soul. Remember that every moment is precious, I say softly, my voice a whisper that penetrates her mind. Make the most of the time you have. You will never be alone. Giorgia feels a sudden dizziness, a vertigo that makes her close her eyes. When she opens them again, Im already gone. She looks around, confused, but the square is empty. Only the wind softly whispers around her, carrying my words. She feels the depth of the words, a warning of the inevitable, a preparation for what is to come. With a heart full of anxiety, yet still determined, Giorgia holds the gift closer to her chest and starts walking back home. Each step is slower, weighted with uncertainty, but she knows she needs to keep going. For Luca. Always for Luca. Countdown. 9 hours and 20 minutes until Giorgia's death, 9:45. Giorgia leaves the store on Via Toledo, carrying Luca's gift in her arms. The sun shines in the clear sky, but there's a sharp chill in the air. As she walks through the narrow streets of Naples, a mix of satisfaction and anxiety fills her mind. The gift is exactly what Luca always wanted, but a sense of unease still lingers in her heart. She finds herself drawn to a familiar pastry shop on Via dei Tribunali, a place she's frequented since Luca was a child. The cakes from Pasticceria Caparelli have always been his favorites. Without hesitation, she decides to go in. Inside, the bakery feels warm and familiar. The sweet aroma of chocolate and freshly baked pastries envelops Giorgia, bringing a comforting feeling. The shelves are filled with tempting treats, and the baker, a middle-aged woman with a warm smile, recognizes Giorgia immediately. "Buongiorno, Giorgia. What can I do for you today?" the baker asks. "It's Luca's birthday," Giorgia replies, returning the smile. "I want to order a special cake. Something with lots of chocolate, decorated with airplanes. He loves airplanes." The baker carefully notes down the order, and as she does, looks at Giorgia with a sympathetic expression. "I'm sure he will love it," she says softly. "You can pick up the cake. Det er fint. Ve sweis. Eet wij kan fijn. En she refrain." Giorgia nods, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders, but also a pang of worry as she swipes her credit card, using almost all her remaining balance. She knows she's exhausting her savings, but to her, Luca deserves the best, and nothing else matters. Countdown. 8 hours and 40 minutes until Giorgia's death. 10:25. Leaving the bakery, Giorgia feels an urge to set some things right in her life. There's a feeling of urgency in her chest, a need to reconcile with her past. This desire of Giorgia's to make amends, to fix what's broken, is natural when someone is nearing their final stretch, I think, as I watch her. It's as if the soul knows the end is near and seeks a final peace. She takes out her phone and dials Antonio's number, her brother. It's been a long time since they've seen each other, and she feels a need to reconnect with him, to make up for lost time. The phone rings a few times before Antonio answers. "Hello, Giorgia?" His voice sounds surprised, but there's a sweetness she's always recognized. "Hi, Antonio," she says, trying to hide the emotion in her voice. "I was thinking, how about we have lunch together today? It's been so long since we've seen each other." Antonio is silent for a moment, then his voice softens. "Yes, Giorgia. I think that would be great. Let's meet at Cantina La Bella at 12:30. "Perfect," she replies, feeling a wave of warmth spread through her chest. "I'll see you there." Countdown. 8 hours and 40 minutes until Giorgia's death. 12:30. At Cantina La Bella, a cozy Italian restaurant situated in Piazza Bellini, Giorgia and Antonio meet. The restaurant, with its checkered tablecloths, soft lighting, and the inviting aroma of garlic and tomatoes, feels like a time capsule from their childhood memories. They sit by the window where the winter sun gently streams in, bathing the space in a golden glow. They order their favorite dishes, and while they wait, they begin to reminisce about the past. "Do you remember when we were kids, Antonio?" Giorgia asks, her eyes distant, lost in some cherished memory. Those afternoons we spent at Nonna's house, sneaking cookies from the kitchen and running through the backyard. Antonio smiles, a light chuckle escaping his lips. Yes, and how you always tried to convince me to climb onto the roof to see the view. I never had the courage, but you were always braver. Or foolish, she replies, laughing. I just wanted you to see the world the way I did, so full of possibilities. Antonio falls silent for a moment, then takes her hand across the table. I'm sorry, Giorgia. For us, drifting apart. Life is complicated. But you're right. We need to see each other more. We need to be there for each other. Yes, we do, she agrees, squeezing his hand. Because life is about connection. It's about being together. We never know how much time we have. They continue talking, reminiscing about happy times and laughing together. There is a sense of healing in the air, a reconnection, as if they were closing a gap that had existed for years. Countdown, 7 hours and 35 minutes until Giorgia's death. 2:30 p.m. After lunch, Giorgia drives home through the historic streets, crossing Via dei Tribunali and following Napoli, feeling renewed with a sense of purpose. She feels like she's making peace with her past, healing old wounds. As she enters her building, in the stairwell, she runs into her neighbor Clara, who is leaving the apartment next door. They had a disagreement over something trivial weeks ago, and Giorgia felt she couldn't let that resentment linger. Clara, she calls out softly. Clara turns, a little surprised, but there's something in her eyes that shows she too wants peace. Can we talk? Giorgia asks, stepping forward. Of course, Giorgia, Clara responds, her voice filled with hesitation, but also hope. I know we had a disagreement, but life is too short to hold grudges, Giorgia says, her voice heavy with emotion. I'd like to put it behind us and start fresh as friends. Clara, moved, agrees. I'm sorry too. Let's leave it behind. They hug, a sincere embrace that dissipates all the tension. Giorgia feels a weight lift from her shoulders. She knows she's done the right thing. As Giorgia steps away, Clara remarks, Giorgia, you seem different today. I don't quite know what it is, but I feel it. Countdown. 4 hours until Giorgia's death. 6:30 p.m. After decorating the entire apartment for Luca's private birthday party, Giorgia feels a mix of joy and nostalgia. Getting ready to pick up the cake, Giorgia grabs her keys and approaches Luca. She kisses him softly on his forehead. He'll be back soon, sweetheart. Get ready for a big surprise. Luca smiles, excited. Don't be long, Mom, he exclaims, his eyes shining with anticipation. Countdown. 1 hour until Giorgia's death. 7 o'clock at night. As Giorgia drives through the busy streets of Naples, passing through Via Nuova Marina, I watch her closely. Every movement, every heartbeat is now in sync with the clock of her fate. She is very close to the end, still unaware. The traffic around her is heavy. Headlights reflect off the asphalt, creating glimmers on the road. She is focused, her gaze steady, but there is a serenity in her eyes, a peace that only those at peace with themselves possess. She approaches an intersection at Piazza Garibaldi. Time seems to slow down. Suddenly, a car speeds through Corso Garibaldi, running a red light. There's no time to swerve. The impact is brutal, an inevitable collision. The sound of metal twisting and glass, shattering, fills the air. I am beside her, as I always have been. The world around her spins in a whirlwind of light and sound until everything quiets. There is only silence. In mere seconds, Giorgia's life flashes before her eyes like a fast-forwarded film. She sees me then, with a look of surprise but also acceptance, knowing her time has come. In her final moments, a deep concern fills her thoughts. And Luca, she murmurs, her voice full of anguish. I'll leave him alone. Who will take care of him? I approach her soul with deep respect, my hands moving gently, almost as if caressing the very fabric of life. Before cutting the silver cord that binds her to her physical body, I whisper softly, "Rest easy, Giorgia. Remember you spoke with your brother Antonio. It wasn't by chance. He will take care of Luca. Your son will not be alone." With these words, a sense of immediate relief spreads through her being. The pain dissipates, giving way to a serenity she has never experienced before. She looks at me, tears of gratitude and understanding in her eyes. "You were a wonderful mother, Giorgia," I say, my voice a gentle whisper in the wind. "Your journey ends here, but the love you gave will continue to shine. Luca will always carry you in his heart." She smiles, a final tear sliding down her cheek. She understands. With one last breath, she accepts her fate, her soul surrendering to peace as I embrace her with infinite compassion. Gently, with much love and respect, I cut the silver cord that connects her soul to her body. She feels an immediate lightness, as if finally freed from an invisible weight. 7:05 p.m. Meanwhile, Luca is at home, eagerly waiting for his mother to return. He feels something strange, a kind of uneasiness, and he begins to feel restless. He looks around the apartment, searching for some distraction. Then, something calls to him. The wardrobe door in his mother's room opens on its own, creaking slightly. Luca looks into the dark interior of the wardrobe and, as he approaches, sees the gift his mother bought. He feels inexplicably drawn to it. As he gets closer, he picks up the virtual reality glasses. When he puts them on, a soft light turns on and a message starts to play. Giorgia's voice is soft and loving. "Luca, my dear son," she begins, "I love you more than anything in this world. I hope this gift brings you many adventures and joy, just as you have brought to my life. I want you to know that no matter what happens, I will always be with you in every step you take. Be very happy, my love. Always remember that you are loved and that you have the strength and courage to face any challenge life throws at you. I will always be with you, Luca. Always." Luca feels tears streaming down his face. He doesn't fully understand what's happening, but he feels the warmth of his mother's presence around him, her love enveloping him like a soft blanket, even in her absence. He takes off the glasses, holding them against his chest, feeling his mother's presence in his heart. He knows that somehow she is always with him, guiding him, protecting him. And so, the flame of Giorgia's love continues to shine, even in the darkness, lighting Luca's path forever. Every journey has its end, but love is eternal. It crosses the barrier of time, binds hearts beyond life, and continues to shine even in the deepest darkness. I slowly withdraw, leaving behind a trail of calm and solace, knowing that the story of Giorgia and Luca is just one among many. The cycle continues, always moving, always renewing. And I will be there, as I always am, watching, accompanying, guiding every soul to the destiny that awaits. And one day, my friend, we will meet on the day of your death.